Well, today, Apple CEO Tim Cook pushed the world's most valuable company into a new product category, wearables. Along with the Apple Watch comes an increased focus on health and fitness apps. Bloomberg Business Week's Brad Stone spoke with Piper Jaffray analyst Gene Munster, who's really one of the acts in this name, and he asked what Apple did to make the grade today.
I think they made the long-term sale for it. And what I mean by that is that I think that this is going to take a similar trajectory as other Apple products like the iPod or the iPhone, where they lay the groundwork, but as far as the real consumer running out and actually buying it, we're probably a year and a half away from that, but they definitely laid the foundation for that.
Apple products have always had a very real use case, an understandable use case. Do you think consumers paying attention to the news today understand what the Apple Watch is for?
I think that's still going to be a debate. I think that really comes down to a lot of the development from apps over the next year. It's really going to spark some of that understanding about why people are actually going to want to go out and buy the watch. They give some great examples, but some of those examples might be kind of a small case. For example, remotely opening your garage door for the traveler who goes and checks into your room. All extremely valuable for those type of people, but as far as the mainstream apps, I think that that's still something that's going to take a little bit of time.
Right. They showed an Uber app, they showed a Fandango app, a Shazam app, identifying songs on your watch. All these things are apps that work on the phone. So what does a watch, tethering a watch to your iPhone, what does it bring you that the iPhone itself doesn't?
At the most basic level, it takes friction out of how you use your phone. And if you think a typical teenager gets around 6,000 text messages per month, just checking those text messages or receiving a phone call or using your phone for payments, having it on your wrist. It's the same reason why the pocket watch was displaced by the wristwatch. It was the same features, but just the simplicity of it and the friction. So I think that's one of the parts of this that's underappreciated today, is just how, even though it doesn't sound like a big deal to pull your phone out, we're going to enjoy not having to pull that phone out.
Although I wonder what kind of social behaviors we now will start to see. People glancing at their watches all the time. It's not necessarily a less obvious behavior than taking out your phone and checking your email.
Yeah, I think that it's disappointing how we've kind of progressed over the last decade, and I think we've already kind of broke through unacceptable behavior with that, so this is just going to be variations of that.
Okay, let's talk about the pricing of the Apple Watch. The $10,000 starting price for the gold edition has gotten most of the attention, but the watch starts at $349, $549 for the stainless steel Apple Watch. Is that in the sweet spot for most customers?
I think for that early adoption phase, I think that is the sweet spot. I think kind of at ASP, we're thinking around $550 for the average selling price. And so that's kind of, I think, for that first year or 2 years is the right price. Surprisingly, the iPhone's around the same price as it was when it was launched in 2007. And that's obviously been a sweet spot. The reason why the iPhone's had such success is it has such great value. And so I think it comes back to this, is that price is just fine if consumers feel like they're getting a lot of value.
Does the Apple Watch move the needle for Apple's short-term financial results and market capitalization?
It doesn't have a big impact. It adds about 4% to the numbers for this year and next year, a little bit more to earnings, so that should have a small uptick in their profitability, which is something that investors closely watch. So that, to kind of put it into perspective, where it gets more exciting is when we get beyond that first year and a half, this could break out and become a much bigger category for Apple.
And last question, Gene, did you learn anything today about Tim Cook and his management team and their performance on stage?
I think that this is a big deal for him. I think as far as learning about it, that he's already done the hard work of getting up to this point. They keep kind of throwing out, too, this idea of Apple TV. He said twice that there's more to come there, so I think he's laying the groundwork of doing another product category in the future.
That was Gene Munster of Piper Jaffray and, of course, Bloomberg's Brad Stone.